A woman loses her son for 30 years. Then a miracle happens.
But before we start, please make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and smash that like button. We really appreciate your continuous support.
Life is full of setbacks and losses, and most of the time we can't help it but grieve the misfortune that befalls us. And that grief is simply inconsolable when the loss concerns a person that love. In those dark times, many people simply sink in the gloom of despair, while others refuse to surrender, empowered by whatever glimmer of hope they can find, a hope that in some cases becomes a reality. Today's story is about a lady who lost her son, and just as despair started finding its way into her heart, the unthinkable happened. Adelmira is a woman that lived in a small village her entire life. What differentiated her from other people is her firm belief in miracles and divine interventions in our daily life. She would always repeat that no matter how hard are the circumstances through which we go, faith will always guide us towards the way out. That belief came from a tragic accident she suffered as a child that changed her forever. As a child, Adelmira lived with her parents and two brothers, a life that was happy and full of love, until the day she woke up to screams and smoke that was suffocating her. The little girl sat in her bed and looked around, but all she could see is a blurred image of red fire flames and smoke engulfing the place. Unable to see clearly and hardly breathing, the little girl miraculously made it out of the house and out into the front yard, not even knowing how she could make it out that way. The little girl looked around looking for her parents and brothers, yet all she saw were neighbors and onlookers who stood dazzled by the scale of the flames that completely engulfed the house. Adelmira tried to go back into the house to save her family, yet the onlookers prevented the little girl from doing so. After the firefighters came and put out the fire, they confirmed Adelmira's worst nightmare. Her parents and her two brothers died in the fire, leaving the little girl on her own in this world. Adelmira was later on adopted by a neighbor who had no children of her own. The woman treated the little orphan well, raising her to become a teacher. Adelmira found a teaching job at nun school and lived with her adopted mother a quiet life. Shortly after that, the woman died and Adelmira inherited the house. The young woman continued living on her own and supporting herself with her meager salary. Later on, the young teacher was visited by a supervisor from the Ministry of Education, a gentleman who dazzled her with his charm and attentiveness to her. The two fell in love, and Adelmira ended up surrounding herself to him. The short relationship they got had the young teacher pregnant, and the man who was supposed to support her simply abandoned her and never showed up again. Things got worse when the nuns found out about Adelmira's pregnancy and decided that such a thing gave the little girls a bad example, and so they decided to fire the young teacher. Finding herself pregnant and without any income source, Adelmira approached the education board for the city and appealed her dismissal. And luckily for her, the decision was reversed, and the young teacher was reinstated back into her school. Things weren't easy for the young woman during her pregnancy, having to work and support herself. Yet all of that was forgotten when she first held her newborn baby, Leopoldo. The arrival of the little boy into the life of Adelmira reinstated hope into her, and from the moment he was born, Leopoldo became the focal point of her entire life. Deeply hurt by the failing relationship she had, Adelmira took an oath to never trust a man ever again, and that she would dedicate her entire life to her son and not let anyone get in between them. In order to give her son the best life she could, Adelmira started tutoring in the afternoon in order to earn more money. Adelmira indulged Leopoldo in love and made sure he lived a happy childhood. She even sent him to private school where he stood out amongst his peers and excelled at every subject. He even excelled at poetry and successfully participated in several contests. The boy was so ambitious, and he always dreamt of becoming a doctor, and Adelmira was determined to make her son's dream a reality. The proud mother worked hard and took every side hustle she could find, and saved every penny she could spare to send Leopoldo to the Faculty of Medicine. The boy grew up well-mannered and obedient. He even ran errands for his neighbors in his free time to help his mother with the house expenses. Despite living paycheck to paycheck and missing any luxury in their life, Adelmira and her son were extremely happy and lived in harmony and peace. One day, as Adelmira was home preparing lunch while her son was in the front yard playing, a luxurious car pulled in front of the house. Out of it descended a man and a woman. The couple were obviously rich, well-dressed, and wearing expensive watches and sunglasses. Upon seeing them, Adelmira walked to the front yard to welcome them and she was thrilled to know they're distant cousins of the woman who raised her. Edelmira invited them to stay and have lunch, and they happily accepted. As Edelmira and the couple were chatting around the lunch table, the proud mother told her guest about Leopoldo's outstanding intelligence and his dream to become a doctor. The couple were really impressed and advised her to move to the city where the kid would have more chances to realize his dreams. Yet, after Edelmira told them that she spent her entire life in the village and she couldn't move anywhere else, the couple suggested that Leopoldo could move to live with them since they had no kids, and Edelmira could visit him anytime she wished to. Edelmira couldn't imagine living without her son, yet at the same time she wanted him to have the chances to succeed, and so she arranged with the couple to take Leopoldo with them. On the day the couple came back to take Leopoldo, neither the mother nor the son could stop crying, and with a heavy heart, Edelmira saw her son being moved away from her. What was supposed to be the door for a better life turned out to be the beginning of a nightmare. Upon arriving at the couple's house, Leopoldo was surprised by 6 other kids who were literally held captive against their will, and Leopoldo was the latest addition. The couple were human traffickers who tricked parents to take their kids, then sold them to childless families. Leopoldo was in shock, yet he was determined to escape the house and go back to his mother. But first, he needed to plan his escape while obeying his captors and playing along with their rules. Unfortunately, the city where Leopoldo was held captive was hit by a pandemic, and 2 of the kids died. Leopoldo knew that if he left the house, he would catch the virus, and so he decided to stay longer. Not long after the pandemic was under control, a foreign couple came and bought Leopoldo. The little boy tried to explain to the couple that he wasn't an orphan and that his mother lived in a nearby village. Yet they refused to listen to him and flew him to their country using fake documents. Meanwhile, Edelmira was devastated, as she didn't hear of her son the moment he was taken by the couple. The worried woman did everything she could to contact the couple and find where they lived, but with no luck. She went to the address they gave her, yet when arriving there, the owner of the house told her that he never saw such a couple. She rushed to the police station and told them the story. Yet, with almost no information about the couple, the police couldn't find them. Instead, they recriminated her and scolded her for being so naive and handing her kids to foreigners she barely knew. Weeks turned into months, and months turned into years, and Edelmira refused to give up hope of finding her son. She would always go to the main road every afternoon after work and sit by the bus station, waiting for her kid to descend from one of the buses that stopped by. People living in the village thought that Edelmira was losing her mind for expecting to get her son back after all those years. She even went to neighboring villages and cities to walk the streets looking for her son, or any information that might lead to him. Her neighbors sympathized with her and tried to explain to her that what she was pursuing is something impossible. Yet Edelmira refused to heed any of that and continued her relentless search, always giving the same reply: "Miracles happen, and Leopoldo will come back to me one day." Years passed by, and Edelmira grew old, yet her hope didn't waver. The woman even kept buying clothes and stuff for her long-lost son and saved them for the day he came back. The loss of Leopoldo overshadowed Edelmira's life, and the woman stopped bathing and barely ate anything. There were times when she didn't leave her house for days on end. Her neighbors got worried about her, and when they went to check on her, they found her sitting by a table prepared by 2 people, waiting for her son to come back and share with her another meal. Days passed, and the second chair always remained empty, and the woman would wake up the following day and do the same thing again, refusing to give up her hopes, despite all the ridicule and comments she kept getting from people around her. One day, as Edelmira was sitting by the table, as usual, contemplating the silverware in front of her and thinking about her long-lost son, the door cracked open, and a man stood looking at the woman, smiling while tears ran down his cheeks. Edelmira instantly recognized Leopoldo, and the 2 ran towards each other and hugged. Leopoldo became a man, and judging by his looks, a wealthy one as well. It turned out that his adoptive parents helped him realize his dream of studying medicine, and didn't deny him anything, though they made sure he had no way of contacting his home country again. After he graduated as a surgeon, Leopoldo sued them for taking him against his will. Leopoldo won the case, yet he forgave them because they had always been nice to him, and instead he asked them to go with them to see his mother, Edelmira. Leopoldo contacted his original country's embassy, and after a while he was able to locate his mother and took his adoptive parents to the reunion. 30 years passed since Leopoldo was taken away from Edelmira, yet the mother's strong faith and hope paid off, and the miracles she always talked about became a reality. Edelmira and Leopoldo's hearts finally found peace as they moved to live together again, and be the happy family they once were. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and tell us what you think about it in the comment section below.